Imagine this world as a giant meshwork where each of our parts constantly collide. And in that moment where our paths collide, we share a story. These stories are a thread of commonality. These interactions are shared spaces for storytelling, learning, and growing. Now, recall how many of such stories do you carry? What have you learned from them? Did they give you hope? Did they make an impact? Today, I'm here before you to share my story that has formed me, helped me transform my vision into my practice, and inspired me to create School Ghanti, an idea which sparked from a simple ring of a school bell. Sounds are embedded with both cultural and personal meanings. They can trigger autobiographical memory. Do you remember this particular sound? It has left a unique vocal print on each one of us. This School Ki Ghanti is now a part of so many lives. Here is a word from our family.
हेलो, मेरा नाम है सन्नी। हर रोज स्कूल की घंटी का फोन आता है। मैं फिर नई नई कहानी सुनता हूँ। आज की कहानी से मैंने यह सीखा कि इंद्रधनुष कैसे बनते हैं और मैंने गिनती भी सीखी। बाय बाय।
That was 8-year-old Sunny. If schools were indefinitely shut when I was 8 years old, I would have been the happiest. Because back then, I definitely did not like school. But look at the irony. I founded School Ki Ghanti. I remember being petrified of going to school when I was in grade 1. I also struggled with a very similar fear for the first 6 months of design school. It felt like that I had entered deep unknown waters without any floaters, and all I had to do was trust my intuition and figure it out. Slowly, intuition became the center of my design process, and fear to me has been a spark which has added ammunition to my dreams. It is one of my greatest motivators. It has helped me to commit to the idea of empathy and has led me to innovations, showing me the path to offer my humble services to the world. My fears are there to inspire me, challenge me, and perhaps keep me curious. They also make me brave. In my journey so far, there have been so many people whose lives have left a long-lasting impression on me. Ratan Manjari, a social activist from Himachal Pradesh, continues to fight patriarchy. She's trying to bring a social change by enlightening women about their rights and entitlements. Nino empowers women of Nagaland by training them in the hospitality and tourism sector. The women folk of Ribba in Himachal Pradesh continue to hold community cleaning drives every single Saturday to make sure that the entire community lives in a clean environment. These are such simple stories of extraordinary women embedded in bravery and the belief that they can also transform lives. Each of us holds this power. We just need to start somewhere, even if it is small. When focus meets innovation with limited resources and time, one tends to invent the most effective and meaningful design solutions. And these solutions make the real impact. In my childhood, I was always surrounded by books. Even at the age of 2, I would pretend to read and write. I remember several dining table conversations with my late grandfather, and what always stood out was his belief that knowledge is supreme and education is empowering, which got ingrained in me. I'm fortunate that I have bequeathed the privilege of getting a good education as a result of my labor and also the hard work of my forefathers. I have always wished to channel my education to empower others as well. And thus, School Ki Ghanti has come to what it is, though that may just be a simple drop in the ocean. Don't we all dream of changing the world? We all want to be inspired and continue to inspire others. But what is it that inhibits us? We say we don't have the time or resources, and most of the time, just blame it on the system. As young practitioners, change makers, designers, activists, leaders, policymakers, are you or anyone really thinking on how to find solutions to the problems of this world? Curiosity has led to some of the greatest innovations. Isaac Newton questioned what made the apple fall from the tree. And look where that question got us today. This holds true even today. IDEO CEO Tim Brown mentions that when we start asking the right questions, that's the first step to design thinking and innovation. It is imperative to challenge the status quo on the critical issues of our times. One revolutionary systemic change was brought in when Mr. Shankar Singh, one of the founding members of Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, asked the government to show them the records of their own labor. A people's movement was born, and the Right to Information Act came into being. I remember interviewing him and recording his story for a radio program. In that moment, I realized the importance of my role as an advocate of design in the society. I wanted to work on complex projects and concepts to catalyze solutions and unfold the potential of design capacity to create a better world. I now stand with the vision to create effective communication strategies and design systems which are inclusive and accessible and also bridge the systemic divide. Today, School Ki Ghanti is a manifestation of that very vision. It's the 21st century, and education is still based on privilege, accessibility, and availability of resources. One needs to find alternate and complementary interventions for children from vulnerable communities and disadvantaged backgrounds. It took us a pandemic to accelerate this process and think of such interventions. On the 24th of March 2020, with the announcement of a lockdown in India, as the people stepped inside their homes, thousands of children stepped out of the formal education. Schools have now been shut for the past 8 months, leaving many children at home with no access to education. COVID-19 has been declared a crisis of profound magnitude, especially in the education sector, impacting 87.6% of the world's total enrolled learners. According to the National Sample Survey Education Report, just 20% of the Indians above the age of 5 could use the internet, and only 24% families have the facility. The trends vary across states and are even so worse for rural areas. So the question was very clear. As we move towards an increasingly digitized world, are we really taking everyone along? How would children access education without gadgets and smartphones and an internet connection? Who is thinking and working for them? It was high time we thought beyond school walls. It was destined, perhaps I brought in the name before devising the entire system. School Ki Ghanti was simple and resonated with young and old alike. With School Ki Ghanti, we are trying to bring lost school days to children from underprivileged and marginalized groups via a phone call, one story based lesson at a time. The aim is to reimagine learning. It's a collective attempt to create a new narrative by responding to a crisis both mindfully and empathetically. It shows how a simple technology can carve learning paths to engage students and encourage resilience and adaptive learning. This one of a kind school bell rings Monday to Friday at sharp at 4 o'clock as an important harbinger of the little joys of finding a friend over a call and to instill hope as well. The aim is to engage young listeners with little access or effectively and introduce a fun learning tool in their lives. Storytelling is the most effective and powerful way to put ideas in the world. It upholds the oral tradition, revisits folk tales, incubates new ideas, and also tries to decolonize the rote learning method. We attract our listeners with a simple phone call, provoke a fun learning routine within them, thus inform them with our story-based modules, and hence activate critical thinking, imagination, and creative literacy. You would ask me why I chose audio when a visual medium is much more impactful. It takes me back to when I walked into the All India radio station Shimla. At the entrance, there was a big board that said, मैं रेडियो में शक्ति देखता हूँ. This quote by Mahatma Gandhi has stayed with me ever since. I found the effectiveness of a solution that was made for smaller communities in the hilly areas. Radio bridged the gap of inaccessibility faced by these communities residing in one of the toughest terrains. Evoking the power of listening, these audio based modules help the listener navigate between both memory and imagination. The realization about the immense power these voices hold can has inspired me to deploy a voice broadcasting system to redefine learning modules for children locked out of their schools. These children have extraordinary capabilities, and we at School Ki Ghanti want to channelize it through creative literacy. Locating design in the current context, School Ki Ghanti has evolved from an experimental social design project to a full blown change making institution. It involves an eclectic blend of technical, creative, research, and curatorial skills with the listener as prime focus and has impacted more than 550 lives. Today, with 18 partner organizations covering 7 cities including Patna, Delhi, Raipur, Ranchi, Jaipur, Bangalore, and many districts, School Ki Ghanti's impact analysis shows 91% of the children are excited about our storytelling calls every day. 90% of the children listen to our calls regularly. 95% children really like our stories. And 96% of the children understand the stories being told. With the ever increasing digital divide, many first generation learners are being pushed out of the learning system. Many children are facing the loss of essential services like midday meals and thus being forced to drop out. School Ki Ghanti aims to keep all of them engaged in the learning system in these trying times. You discover as you go along. All the stakeholders involved are intrinsically motivated to truly follow through. With their commitment to human centered design and innovation, School Ki Ghanti also acts as an access point where agents of change converge and ideas unravel. The storytellers, the writers, the researchers, the analysts, the designers, they all are impacting the children, reminding them that they are not forgotten. School Ki Ghanti is a collaborative environment where the reason why everybody is on the table is to answer one simple question: how might we impact a life? I'm honored to work with people who trust my conviction and invest in my beliefs as we strive together towards a shared purpose. The whole team of School Ki Ghanti and its well wishers are a part of an evolution. An idea as humble as mine has resonated with so many people who are a part of my team as we collectively contribute to the cause. It has generated an engagement of 344,400. It has generated an engagement of 344,417 minutes since its inception. Can you believe that? I couldn't either. One simple mobile phone has changed the way our listeners look at learning. Organic ways of collaboration have sprouted from us. When a farmer's family can't even afford a handset, dedicated teachers reach out to them, where students listen to our modules on loudspeakers. If Reshma misses her call scheduled at 4, her mother listens to the lesson and narrates it to her. A tiny seed of thought has blossomed into bringing families together. School Ki Ghanti has become their shared learning experience. So now is the time when designers have to rethink the traditional modes of bringing social change and therefore begin to create greater impacts. They also need to get more serious about the power they hold to drive change and think of new ways of exercising their influence. I would like to quote Virginia Woolf from Waves here. I feel 1,000 capacities spring up in me. 5 years ago, I broke open a fortune cookie just before entering design school, which said, persistence will be rewarded. I still swear by and practice this thought. The key is to remain steadfast in the face of obstacles and transform your weakness into strength by the alchemy of strong willpower. I would end by saying, have a clear vision and let the direction unfold organically.